Welcome back to a legal studies teacher reads the news. Another consumer options one today. We're looking at Lorna Jane. They're an activewear company out of Brisbane. They have been fined by the Therapeutic Goods Administration $40,000 for alleged advertising breaches in relation to COVID-19 and antivirus activewear. This is from the 17th of July. It's a press release from the Therapeutic Goods Administration itself. What does it say? Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA, part of the Department of Health, today issued 3 infringement notices totaling $39,960 to Brisbane clothing company Lorna Jane Proprietary Limited for alleged unlawful advertising in relation to COVID-19. Lorna Jane allegedly claimed on its website that its antivirus activewear prevents and protects against infectious diseases, implying it is effective against COVID-19. This kind of advertising could have detrimental consequences for the Australian community, creating a false sense of security and leading people to be less vigilant about hygiene and social distancing, Adjunct Professor John Skerritt, Deputy Secretary of the Department of Health, said. So what's happening here? Well, you've got a company, Lorna Jane. They sell activewear, and they've basically come out with this concept of antivirus activewear. Now, it's not as simple a story as them trying to make a quick buck. We're going to have a look at it in a little bit more detail, but it's a helpful example where companies just need to be really careful about how they advertise. So the TGA alleges that Lorna Jane represented its antivirus activewear for therapeutic use and therefore believes that it is a therapeutic good within the meaning of the Therapeutic Goods Act of 1989. Therapeutic goods, including advertising, are subject to the regulations administered by the TGA. So that's interesting there, isn't it? Basically, this is activewear. This is not they're not selling pills here. This isn't some kind of vitamin product. They're saying because you have labeled them as antivirus activewear, you're technically fitting within our jurisdiction. And therefore, according to the Therapeutic Goods Act, you need to be subject to the regulations administered by the TGA. The advertisement referred to therapeutic goods that were not included in the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. This is required before they can be lawfully supplied or advertised in Australia. So in other words, the Therapeutic Goods Administration is basically saying these guys have claimed that it's antivirus. That makes it a therapeutic good. That means they should have had it registered as a therapeutic good under the Act, and therefore what they're doing is breaking the law by selling it as that. They allege it represented as therapeutic good, etc. The advertisement referred to therapeutic goods that were not included, and that's required before they can be lawfully supplied or advertised in Australia. Under the Act of 1989, any references to COVID and related terms in the promotion of these types of goods are restricted representations. A restricted representation refers to a serious form of a disease, condition, ailment, or defect. The use of restricted representations in advertisements for therapeutic goods is unlawful without a prior formal approval or permission to the TGA. So it's not like they've said, hey, it does this, 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 and they've misled us. What they've actually done is they've claimed something which makes it fall into a different category, and therefore they haven't had formal approval to sell the product under that category. So the TGA has taken action against them. So the regulatory scheme is critical to the safety of Australian consumers, and the TGA investigates suspected illegal activity in relation to therapeutic goods. A range of compliance and enforcement tools are available and may include criminal or civil court proceedings, which can result in substantial penalties, fines, or imprisonment. It did for Lorna Jane. Any person or business must comply with the requirements for advertising. The TGA encourages online advertising complaints to prevent potentially serious consequences. We also remind consumers to be on the lookout for misleading ads in its How to Spot a Dodgy Health Product ad campaign. So right there, we're looking at what the TGA does. It's enforcing the law. It's seeking to ensure that compliance happens and enforcement happens, but it's also educating the public. So it's saying we've got this campaign for you on how to spot a dodgy health product ad. So this is a government department, and this is some of the ideas of compliance and non-compliance as a theme or a challenge, and certainly the role of the law in encouraging cooperation and resolving conflict when it comes to consumers. And I'll show you what I mean. If it's mentioned here, this little bit here, that it says these advertisements are of significant concern given the current pandemic. The TGA has published a warning to advertisers and consumers about illegal advertising related to COVID-19. So if we go there, this is the warning, and it talks all about this, and it basically says claims being made include unregistered products that kill COVID-19, air purifiers that help fight the virus, complementary medicines that prevent it, a medical device that treats a number of serious diseases, etc., etc. It's basically saying you need to make sure you don't do that. And we will take action in relation to the legal advertising, and it's a reminder of all the things of where it fits into. The TGA is monitoring non-compliance, particularly in relation to the advertising of products that claim to prevent or cure COVID-19, and will take action in relation to any advertisements that do not meet the requirements, including those that seek to mislead consumers. So, and it's obviously against the law. You can have fines of up to $840,000 or $4.2 million for a body corporate for doing that. So the TGA has basically said, look, we've actually warned you about this. We've sent out a thing, and this is the code that they are upholding. So it's the Therapeutic Goods Advertising Code. It ensures that the marketing and advertising of therapeutic goods is conducted in a manner that promotes the quality use of the product, is socially responsible, and does not mislead or deceive the consumer. So this is the code, and they have a whole bunch of, there's that if you want to go to Parliament and check it all out. But it's been updated. Here's the different codes: 2005, 6, 7, then 15, and then here's the 2018 code. So they've got a whole bunch of ways to actually, this is to help you. Information about the code is available, and you know, this guidance is being updated to make changes so that you can click on this one and it'll show you how to comply with it. So that's actually the role of the law in encouraging cooperation and resolving conflicts. So it's saying this is how, as an advertiser, you don't break our code. But straight away as well, you've got laws relating to consumers as a reflection of changing values and ethical standards. So this idea that you can't just make claims that can't be backed up. It's not particularly even, if you'll note here in the original one, it's not like they explicitly said, we will stop COVID. It's actually that they implied it's effective. So it's not even that they explicitly stated it. That shows you just how careful advertisers need to be. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. We need to protect consumers, and we can't have consumers walking around thinking they can be less careful during a global pandemic because they're wearing magical antivirus activewear. Now, what's Lorna Jane said about this? Let's let them have a say. This is their press release. Lorna Jane, antibacterial activewear. Lorna Jane press release: the health and wellness of our the health and wellness of our people and our customers has always been our number one priority. From designing inspiring activewear, it's incredibly inspiring. Just note that motivates and empowers women to be more active throughout their day, to now launching a world first in protective technology, antibacterial activewear that is exclusive to Lorna Jane. So they haven't backed down and said this was a huge mistake, we didn't mean to do this. They've actually said, no, this is something we've been working on for a while. It's antibacterial. Why did you change it from antivirus to antibacterial? So they're talking about this claim here. We started working on this technology at the start of the year when we named it. And now with there being such a focus on COVID-19 virus and recent press making that the only focus, we didn't want to mislead anyone. Our testing shows that LJ, so Lorna Jane, shield is an important part of the stopping the spread of bacteria and should be used in combination with other precautionary measures such as face masks and thorough and frequent hand washing. In other words, they're saying before COVID became a thing, we were working on this. So stop the spread, they're talking about it, the health and wellness of our community, etc., etc. We started out over 2 years ago working on a solution to solve the issue around germs and contamination of garments, etc., etc., etc. So they're basically saying, look, we've known this for a while. We've been working on it. This is LJ Shield. All right, it's exclusive technology. It's permanent chemical-free shield that protects against odor-causing bacteria and mold. You know, it's applied as a water-based, non-toxic mist, etc., etc., etc. So basically, what they're saying is this is just that when we advertised it, the name needs to be more carefully thought about, and the implication that this stops the spread of COVID-19 was simply because of what's happened. All right? As it says, we don't want to alarm you, but we've been avoiding germs since way before COVID-19. Your first wear is the first wear. All right? But in other words, people try on things in the shops and then you buy them afterwards. So, so Lorna Jane is basically saying how bad we didn't mean to imply that it would stop COVID-19, but we didn't opportunistically choose this. We actually were already developing this, and we're going to call it antibacterial now rather than antiviral, so that you understand. Okay, so interesting concept that certainly you can talk about when it comes to this and consumers. It's a contemporary example, COVID-19. It's an interesting idea of thinking through the compliance of the law and the Therapeutic Goods Administration, and how advertisers need to be really careful about how they're advertising their product, because they actually might accidentally define their product as something that is a therapeutic good, and therefore they're going to fall under regulations of an act that they aren't meaning to fall under, like Lorna Jane has. So watch this space. They may end up complaining. They might take this to court. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, I think, has probably done the right thing. And Lorna Jane has shown that they're not trying to be opportunistic. They're actually trying to look after people by making their clothing more, antibacterial. All right. Hope that was an interesting look at another contemporary issue when it comes to COVID and consumers.